Previously on D&D Kinda.
Topher, you are running. As you're moving, the floor of the forest collapses underneath of you. It's very dark in here. There are no torches. There's nothing. The one direction that you are able to go, it actually goes further down into the ground. Something has walked this path, but it has not been walked in a very long time. As you continue to walk, you realize that there's a chamber. Across the room, there is almost like a mannequin, and it has some robes on it.
I want to take it and wear it.
And beside the robes on the table, there's a stand. And on the stand, there is a very intricate looking wand.
And I would like to take the wand as well.
There is a huge book written on the cover of this book in abyssal is the words Vile Darkness. Whenever you open this book, there's a bit of resistance, and then it opens. And then whenever you pull your hand back, your fingers have blood on them. On the page that you open it up to, it talks about the god Orcus, the demon prince of undeath.
I want to take my old robe, the one that I took off, and I want to lay it out on the table, and I want to put this book and the wand and all the papers that I can get into it. I want to take this and start heading back up that tunnel.
So you walk the good 5-10 minutes it takes to get back up this path, and then you get to the end where this trap door is. You go to grab the rope, and whenever you do, you have another vision. In front of you are children's hands, and you're holding a rope, and when you pull on this rope, you see a huge red circular plate. And as you pull on this, you hoist up a banner, and it has the symbol of Mishkal. The door to the church opens up. The light shining from outside is masking this individual as he walks into this church, and you recognize this individual. It is Cthlulu. Topher, you come to, and you are holding onto a rope, and we're in the process of climbing out of this dark, dank hole in which you had just explored. I know it's been a while. Don't get too excited. When you were down here, you found a few things. You found yourself a pickaxe, a shovel, some papers, a wand. You changed clothes into the strange brown robe that you found. And you have your arrow that Cthlulu had shot at you that had a knife attached to it. Do you still have the knife?
Yeah. Well, it's a dagger, but yeah, I've got it.
Well, yeah. Small knife, dagger, whatever.
Yes.
So when you climb up out of this hole, you'd been down here for just a little bit, and there were the orcs that were chasing you. And when you climb up out of this hole, kind of describe how you're doing this. Do you just yeet yourself out of the hole, or do you just
Well, no, I'm assuming the trapdoor I can push up, or do I have to pull it down? So I fell in.
So it comes down, it kind of does a fold in the middle, like a triangular fold, and then it opens up whenever they all collapse to a certain point. So
it's open right now.
No, it went back up. It's on a pulley system.
Well, no, I'm saying I'm opening it right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you. How did you want to kind of open this? Are you being sneaky about it, or are you...
Oh, yeah, I don't want to draw any attention if there's somebody close by, so I want to kind of pull it down and climb up as best as I can and just kind of peek around with just the top of my head, where you can just see from my nose up. Just look around.
Surveying the land.
Yes.
So when you look around, make a perception check for me.
That is a 9.
So you don't really see anybody. You kind of see the, right in front of your eyes, the leaves and twigs and stuff like that are around the base of this hole. But you just see the normal trees. You don't hear anything. Everything around you, like I said, is in this area appears to be dead and dying, as I'd mentioned before, in this area. And as you look out into the distance, you can see everything starts to gain more and more life. The trees become less gnarled, and the plant life is less shriveled, and the leaves on the ground are less decayed. So You do not, however, see anybody around.
Okay. I want to go ahead and climb up out of the hole.
Okay.
And does it seem like the center point for like all of the dead and decaying things is coming from around where that cave was?
The entrance to the cave?
No, like, because I had to crawl down in there and like walk down kind of in that direction of where I walked whenever I was underground. Does it seem like it's coming from that area?
Make an insight check for me.
22.
Absolutely, it does. So whenever you look back and you see where everything, like the radius of like all this dying and decay, and as the ground gets like more and more like dark and dead, and there's like this center just black spot of just dirt, and it looks almost like it was burnt, almost. But there's like a tossed over log right there, and it's just like there's a, I don't know, you can't really see it from where you're standing, but the ground there, it's very distinguished, and it appears to be directly above. You kind of gauge with that insight check that it's a very similar distance, if not exactly above where you were down in that cavern.
Okay.
So
I know that whatever was going on down there has a direct effect with what's going on up here. It's killing everything and making the animals crazy.
Yeah, it was almost like they were in a trance, and they didn't care that you were there. Like they were more feral, but more still almost. It's very strange. But you didn't really see much wildlife. I think there was like one or two things that you may have come across. So yeah, you gauge that is exactly the distance from where you were, and it makes sense. I don't want to say it makes sense, but you're connecting the dots that whatever that was down there that you just experienced, it's likely due to the reason that this is happening. What do you want to do next?
I don't really know. So there's nobody around, so I'm not like in a rush to get away from anything. But I don't want to obviously go back towards where Chryslex was.
Right.
So I want to, I guess, move in the opposite direction of where Chryslex was.
Okay.
And just keep going.
You take off into the woods and you begin to walk. And it seems like you are going through this. This is a huge forest, just hours and hours on end. And eventually the forest breaks, and you are standing at the base of a mountain range. And there's huge rocks, and there's a couple different pathways that branch off the path that goes between the rocks. You can kind of see it. It splits up between like two large boulders, and there's some like inscriptions on the boulders. And then it kind of branches off back into one direction, and then at the top of the path, in which you can see it splits off between two ways into the mountain. But there are some inscriptions on the boulders surrounding the singular pathway before it splits that you can see. Or you could obviously continue to go right and left and scale the sides of the mountains, or stay between the forest and the mountains.
Does the path lead up the mountain? Or does it lead like into the mountain?
It from the angle that you can see it, you can't see it leading up the mountain, but it doesn't look like it's going into a cave. It might like circle around a side of the mountain or something. It's just a pathway that appears at that angle to be going into, not like, I shouldn't say into like a cave into the mountains, but just like a pathway that's like on the sides of the mountains. But again, you can't see from where you're at. There's two different paths that one singular path splits into. But again, on those stones, there are some inscriptions that you may be able to investigate and see what's going on.
Well, I definitely want to see what those say and see if I can read it.
Okay. So when you walk up to it, you realize that the inscriptions, you thought they might be some language that you couldn't understand, but it turns out it's just inscription on rock, and it's actually just not very well done, but it is common tongue. And whenever you look at it, it is like inscribed on it. There's like an arrow pointing that direction, and it only says one thing, and it says the Bloodstone Pass.
But it splits off two ways.
It does.
Like, does one kind of go up, one go down? Does it?
Not, you can't see anything based off where you're standing, where the inscription is. If you would like to go up further and investigate, you can.
No, fuck it. Let's go. down this pathway, and once I get to the split, I'll kind of look both ways and see which way seems maybe safer to travel.
So you start to walk down this pathway, and whenever you get to the split, one of them leads slightly downhill. When you look down this way, the pathway goes down and it kind of splits off to the left. But at the left, there's an overhang, and whenever you look down, you can see the side of a different part of the mountain, but you can also see a river in the distance. So it looks like that pathway is going down towards the river. And when you look the other direction, it's actually going just slightly uphill, and you can see that pathway is either way. Both of them look like it's a long walk, a long journey, but that way is leading towards, in the distance, there is a city that's like built into the side of a mountain.
And which direction was it the one towards the river?
To the right is the city.
Yeah. But the Bloodstone Pass, which direction was that arrow pointing?
Just up the singular path before it split.
Okay, so it wasn't like left or right.
Yeah, so this entire path, this thing is leading you on the Bloodstone Pass. The entire path that you're on, based off what that rock said, which it was just an inscription, someone carved it in the rock, either way you'd be on the Bloodstone Path, according to that. This is just a fork in the path. One way is leading down towards the river, the other way is leading up towards the city.
How far away from where I woke up are we, would you say?
Probably, you walked for probably 2 or 3 hours before you got out of that forest. It was a long walk.
Okay, so
I would say you're probably, I don't know, maybe like 7 or 8 miles from there, maybe even longer. Like you've been walking a long time.
Okay, I feel like I'm probably far enough away to where I wouldn't really raise any suspicions going into this town, and I have literally nothing. No food, nothing. Like, maybe I can get in here and steal some food, or maybe talk to somebody that might know about the book or something like that. Maybe I could trade off a pickaxe for a loaf of bread or something.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go towards the city because, for survival's sake, I don't really have many weapons to really catch wildlife. I'd have to catch them with my bare hands pretty much.
Okay. And you are on a mountain, and you're like on a narrow path.
Yeah.
So it's like there's probably not going to be a lot of like wildlife around you. So you're right.
I could go back to the forest, but
Yeah, you definitely could. Okay. So you come to this fork, and you gauge your surroundings, and you decide to go to the right. Now, whenever you start on this path, the path immediately branches off to where the left side of the path is hugging the side of the mountain, and the right side is like probably only like 4 or 5 feet. It's very narrow, and then it drops off the side of the mountain. So, and whenever you kind of turn around, it opens up and it just blossoms into like this huge landscape that's below you with more forest, and there's a river and a lake below it, and it's hundreds, if not thousands of foot down to this. So it's just a sheer drop, a really rocky, craggy cliff. And on the other side, it's just like a straight wall of rock upwards, and it just kind of slopes in some areas. And at the top of this, you can see where the clouds kind of crest the mountain, and then it like right below those, you can see some snow. So it's really atmospheric and like a really pretty view, but also like very dangerous to travel on. Now, as you're walking, there are areas where the ice has started to melt and the water is flowing down the mountains, and it's creating some like very cold water that's trickling. So you'd have the ability to replenish yourself. You also need to be careful because it's pouring over these rocks over long periods of time, creating some sloped areas. You need to try to find some ways across.
I'm gonna give me some of that water. It's probably really, really good water.
Nice cold ice mountain glacier water.
Big old gulp of it.
Gulp. All right, you're dead.
Cool.
Makes no sense. You're dead. So along the way, you're getting kind of thirsty, kind of parched. It is cold. You are in a mountain, but it's gradually getting colder because you are climbing the mountain. It's just a very slight incline, but you can tell the air is becoming thinner. It's a little bit harder to breathe, and you're just moving towards this town. Now, what you're able to see overlooking this huge cliff and looking down over this forest and this lake and river, off in the distance, you can see the path you're going to be taking. And it's miles and miles of walking. But in the distance, as you're moving towards you, it's getting closer and closer. So I mean, it's in the middle of the night. You've been traveling all night. You don't trust yourself to fall asleep on the side of this mountain. You could roll over and fall off, So you just keep moving. And in the dead of the night, you come to the edge of the town. And right at the edge of the town, it kind of opens up onto a more broad plateau, and there is a stone gate. And there are 2 guards outside the gate, and the gate is closed. And they don't really acknowledge your presence. There's 2 torches hanging on the side of the mountain. The guards are wearing plated armor, but they have big fur coats around their necks. They have like fur shoes on. They are very, very ornate for being a city that's in the mountains. But they also are holding 2 big spears in one hand and the shields in the other, just very proper, and they're on alert. So you begin to walk up, and they don't pay much attention to you. What do you do?
Well, I want to get in the city, so I'm going to walk up to them and see if they'll open up the gate for me.
Okay, what do you say?
Excuse me, sir. I'm seeking shelter. Would I be able to enter the city?
Good sir, you must wait until the morning. We do not allow anyone to enter the city gates after nightfall. There's been strange happenings in the city. But you are in luck. We do have a small resting cavern over here. It is lit by torchlight, and there is a fire. Please come warm yourself, and there is a bed. You can stay until the morning, in which we will allow you entrance into the city.
Well, thank you. I'm probably exhausted, so I'm going to go and make a heavy sleep happen.
So you go into this room. It's like a carved out cave in the side of this mountain. It's literally nothing fancy. There's just 3 or 4 torches on the wall. There's a small fire placed by the door, and it's warming the entirety of this room. It's very toasty, but there are 2 wooden beds. They don't have anything crazy on them. They're just slabs of wood that are just a little bit raised off the rocky ground, and there is someone else that is asleep on one of these beds.
You curl up next to him.
There is a free bed if you'd like to, if you'd like to jump into the bed of this guy. No. There's also a table there that has a couple pieces of fruit and some like half loaves of bread that are laying on it. And then there's a candle on that table as well. And then there is a couple chairs sitting here next to the beds. And the chair that you see that's right next to the bed that has the person on it, it is a human person. You can kind of tell just by the shape of their body, and their head is kind of exposed, and they're just laying there on this on their knapsack almost, and they're passed out. They're donezo. And then the bag that they have, it's like a bedroll almost, but it's just kind of rolled up on the side of this bag. You find it weird that they're not sleeping on this bedroll. But you also have a very similar situation to where it's just right beside that one with another chair, and it's just a small room that's just lit up by these torches.
I'm going to grab some fruit. Is there an apple?
Yeah, sure. There's an apple. Now, the fruit doesn't look great because you could tell it's probably brought in.
I think at this point, because from the time that I awoke to this point, I haven't eaten anything.
That's true. You just drank mountain water.
So I'm going to eat it.
You're going to eat it?
I'm going to eat
right
it.
At this fucking guy's head that's sleeping?
No, I'm going to... Yes, then I'm going to eat the guy's ass.
Oh. Well, this story took a great turn.
No, I'm gonna eat the fruit, and then pass out because I'm exhausted.
Okay.
And maybe a slice of bread. Or the whole fucking loaf. I don't know. We'll see how I feel after the fruit.
Okay. You feel fine. Right. It's a little soft. You can tell it's probably been there for a day or so. Yeah, but it's cold, so it stays for a while.
Yeah. You said it was toasty in this room.
It was toasty in the room, but it's like a cold environment.
So is the bread toast, since it's toasty in here? Is there some butter, some cinnamon for
You're poisoned,
toast?
You're dead.
Great. Good.
No, it's just like a little half loaf, and it's kind of been cut up and pulled at. But yeah, so you eat the apple, you feel fine. I'm gonna
eat some of the bread, but I'm gonna leave some of it too, just in case this dude's hungry when he wakes up. I don't want to eat everything.
No, I gotcha.
So
okay, so
then I fall asleep.
You have your share. You go lay down and you go sleep without any problems. You are awakened by someone speaking to you.
Sir? Sir? Excuse me, are you awake?
And he starts to, like, poke at you with not the tip of a spear, but, like, the other end of the spear.
I hesitantly wake up and roll over to show him that I'm awake, but I don't say anything.
Okay.
So I'm kind of groggy. And my back hurts from sleeping on wood.
Sir, the city gates have been opened, and you are free to come inside, barring an inspection. We appreciate you being compliant with the rules of our good city.
An inspection of what?
What you have on your person. You must understand that being high in the mountains up here, and what has happened in the past years, our city here has been directly in the middle of it. And we are very cautious with who comes and who goes here. We are a learned town, a town of knowledge. If you are here to learn to fight, if you're here for any nefarious reasons, we would prefer you turn around and leave, and we will give you enough provisions to do so. But if you're here to gain knowledge or just passing through, we hope you would not have a problem with following our rules.
I think that...
I'll also say, before you say anything, he turns around and walks out, because he's just kind of informing you that you can... He's not trying to do it right then and there. So he just turns around and walks back out.
Okay. Well, I think that going through my mind, or Topher's mind, would be like, he has no part in what he has, like the book and the wand and shit, but if they're, intelligent people, one, he'd be able to find out more about this book here, more than likely, or two, they might not believe that it's not my book, that I just found it, and think that I'm some kind of like necromancer or something like that. So
yeah, it's a toss-up. You kind of have to make a decision on how you want to handle this.
I think I'm going to take my chances with trying to get into the city. Because if they think that I'm a necromancer, that's fine. But in my mind, they can't really do anything but not let me into the city. So I'm going to try it.
So what do you do?
Head into the city and see if they stop me. I mean, obviously, the guy said they're going to do an inspection.
You leave the room that you're in and you walk around.
Yeah,
and
is the guy that was there before, is he there?
Yeah, he's one of the guards that's standing by the door. There's still two guards.
No, the guy that was sleeping.
Oh, no, the guy that's sleeping is not there anymore.
Okay, then yeah, I just kind of get up and...
So you walk out of the room and it's like right outside this little cavern that you were in. And there's these two guards that are standing. Different guards that were there from last night. But one of them is the guard that came in and told you that you appreciated. Yep.
Yeah, it's the guard that came in and woke me up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you kind of start to walk into the city, and the man that was there before says, "We'd like to inspect your bag and the items you have on your person before you enter the city. Are you okay with this?"
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So he kind of points over, and there's just a table, because they're not going to be doing like a pat down or anything. There is a table, and he asks you politely to put all your items out on the table so they can look through them. So, do you do that?
I mean, yeah, I'll just sit down the satchel that I made out of my old clothes and I guess pull everything out and lay it out on the table.
Okay. So when you throw it up there is, as we mentioned before, there is a book that has this very strange looking cover on it. There's a wand, there's some papers, there's a pickaxe and a shovel. And when all these things get laid out on the table, the guards kind of come over and look. This is a city of knowledge, this town. He mentioned that. And so it's not uncommon for people to come in with papers or even wands. A lot of people that here are wizards or sorcerers, things like that, where they can come and learn and grow themselves. So he doesn't even pay much mind to that. Now, he sees the pickaxe and the shovel, and he kind of just does a once over on all that stuff, but he comes to the book. And then he kind of looks over at you. And make a Constitution check.
15.
Okay. So He looks at the book, and then he kind of looks up at you, and with a constitution check he's kind of gauging you to see like if you have a reaction to him looking at this stuff. And with a 15, I would say you're pretty straight faced. You're just kind of just waiting. Got a very relaxed composure. You're just trying to get into the city. So he kind of grabs the book and like starts to flip through it, and you can tell that he doesn't really understand what it is. And I mean, honestly, you don't really understand what it is either.
Well, hold on, because you said before that in order to open the book.
Yeah, he still is able to open the book, but it looks like he's just reading a normal book. It doesn't really stand out to him at all, and you don't have any look on your face or anything like that. And he kind of closes it and kind of slides everything to one side of the table, and he says, "Thank you, sir. I appreciate you being compliant with our rules. You can take your stuff and enjoy the city of Telos."
Thank you. I just gather my stuff up and put it back in that little over-the-shoulder, running away from home satchel thingy, and stroll into the city.
And now, a word, or 6, or 5, I have no idea how many, from our sponsor. So, you start to go into the city, and the city is built on the side of this mountain. And you could tell, like, as you are going in, it's a lot of the city has torches in various places, because in order for there to be a city where people are, a lot of it has to be built into the side of the mountain. So there's a lot of different, a lot of layers to this town. As you kind of look up, you can see that there are buildings above you, and they're kind of built into the side of the mountain. But the mountain, and then there's like a giant wall on one side where it kind of scales the actual side of the mountain. So this town is like built into the mountain. So
Minas Tirith.
Yeah, kind of, but more. It's way higher up. Minas Tirith is like based off the ground up. But this town is like built into the side, high off the thousands and thousands of feet in the air. So it's actually scaled into the side of the mountain, and the houses are built in a way that they're part of the foundation of the mountain. And the stairways and stuff are built into the stone. So it's very. It feels a lot like you're in like a complex group of tunnels, but there's a lot of signs. It's very well organized. People seem to be moving in like a fashion that the city has a particular flow to it. So it makes it very easy to navigate, and you don't feel like you're going to get lost. So as you kind of go in, you notice that all the buildings, other than like guard posts and merchant shacks and stuff like that, are on the left side, built into the side of the mountain. And then everything else, like those guard shacks and everything, are on the right side, scaling kind of like the wall that is towards the outside of the mountain. So as you kind of go in, what exactly are you looking for?
I honestly don't know. I'm just going through, and maybe if I see like a shop that's, that I can tell deals in like some kind of magic, stopping in there and seeing if they know anything about the book or the wand, and seeing if they can give me some more information about it, and maybe potentially trading it off for some money so I can supply myself, because I have no use for the book, unless it's something really, really important, if I can find out something about it.
Okay. So you begin to go through the town, and you're looking, so you're just looking for some type of place that you'd be able to learn some information or talk to someone, or...
Yeah, something like that. Something that either like I'm assuming that there would be, a blacksmith, and then somebody that, if it's like a town where they say that people can go and learn things, maybe even like a school for magic or something like that, where people can go and, learn about magic if somebody's trying to better themselves or whatever. Someplace I can find out some information.
Okay. So you continue to walk through this town, and everything you can see, it looks like it's residents and little small shops that are selling some trinkets or food or maybe clothing, stuff like that. And then when you get to probably a good like 20 minutes into walking into the city, it opens up into this huge circular courtyard, and just all around this are a huge building with signs with selling books, and there's schools, and there's libraries, and there's all kinds of stuff. And then in the back of this, or I should say towards the inner part of the mountain, there's a stone staircase that's very low incline, but it's leading up for probably a good 300 or 400 feet up to the front of this very like intricately woven stonework that leads into this building that has like the symbol of like these two hands, and the thumbs are out, and they're holding a book in its hand open, like leaning towards you. And there's tons of people like walking in and out of this huge building, and they're all books, wearing nice robes, very elegant looking place that people are just constantly moving in and out of. It seems to be like the central hub of this city.
I just want to stop somebody and ask them what that place is.
Okay. So whenever you're kind of looking at this, there's someone that walks by. It's like a tall elven man, and you just kind of stop him. What do you say?
Oh, excuse me, sir. May I have your name?
You may not.
Damn.
Shit.
It's Ashit. Fuck.
You know Ashit? That's my brother. I am fuck.
Fuck.
No, this is Ashit when he was younger. This is a poop.
A poop. A fart.
A dinner.
What is this place that everybody's going into?
He looks back and looks up at the building, and he says,
This is the fine city of Telos, sir. This is one of the most learned cities in all of Faerun. This is the source of knowledge. This is the building of learning. This building houses the majority of the knowledge to be found in this good city of Telos. Here you can find anything you're looking for. It's full of scholars and helpers and librarians that can help guide you in finding the information you need, whether it be magic or arts or sorcery or whatever it may be, the art of fighting. This is a place of knowledge.
And he kind of just turns around and walks away.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just walk up the stairs. I'm going to go in and see what I can find out about this book.
Okay. So you walk all the way up these stairs, and like I said, as you get closer, it just becomes more apparent to you how respected this place is. There's, like I said, there's very intricate stonework, and the way that this is done, it's not like a statue of these hands like holding out this book. It's like woven into the stone, like carved into it. Makes it look like a 3D feel to where it's like putting its hands out, like welcoming you to this. And there's this carved archways all over the place that people are walking in and out of. It's very intricate. And when you walk in here, it's very, very much feels like a modern day mall would feel like. There are people all over the place moving in and out of different small cubby holes filled with books and papers and people all, and you can tell that the people that are working at this establishment, they're all wearing like a red robe that has like a very, very exorbitant amount of fabric around the necks, and it's like the very fluffed up, and they have lots of clothing that's like bunched up around their arms. They look just very puffy, almost is a good way to describe it. They're all wearing this, men and women of various races and species are the work here. It's just, if you're smart enough, essentially, you can work here and help people. There are various segments all written in common, hanging from signs that say things like magic or sorcery or martial arts, or just every single thing that you could think of that you would want to learn. So if you're looking to find out about this book, there are sections talking about specific points in history. If you're looking for things in history, there's things that are mentioning magical artifacts. There's things that are mentioning particular historical artifacts. So you kind of have to pick and choose where, carefully, maybe even where you would want to be the first place to go to look to see if you can find information out about these items that you have.
I think I'd go to like the sorcery
section.
Yeah, because maybe, I don't know.
You could try anything. It's not like you have to make the right choice, but
well, you just told me I needed to make the right choice.
No, I just meant like I was maybe thinking about it from Topher's perspective, because if he's coming in here and he's unsure about what this is, and it was strange to, like you had mentioned, that you had tried to open this book and it was like your fingers were bleeding and there was all this information in it. And then this other person just freely opened up this book. So there's probably you're kind of curious about it. So you're not sure why this happened to you. Was it a hallucination? You don't really know what exactly is going on. So I don't mean like there's a wrong choice to be made. What I mean is maybe, you might not be, but maybe Topher thinking about those things, maybe he's weary or leery or cautious about, who he wants to be the first person to ask about this.
I mean, not necessarily.
And that's fine. If you're not, that's fine.
Because it's not so much that I need to know this. It's like I'm just curious. It's the only thing that I have. So, I'm here, so I want to find out about it to see if I can use it in any way that I possibly could. So I'll take it over to the Sorcery RS, I guess you could call and ask to speak to the manager.
So you approach the sorcery and magic portion of this. So like there's a particular section where it deals with internal magics and external magic and wisdom magic. And it's all just in this section under like an overarching banner that's just like the magics. And it kind of leads down into like a hallway. So you walk down this hallway and it branches off into 3 bigger cubby areas that have just books and papers and just very similar to what you've just seen, just in a different sections exclusively dedicated to magics. And when you walk into the sorcery section, there's a few people that are kind of moseying around in here, not a lot. But there is a table where there is someone, there's a small human man, a little older. He has fiery red hair and it's curly, but it's curly and long. And he has these big, like Spaldings on, these like shoulder pads, and he has a monocle. And he's like leaning over and he's reading through this scroll. So, and he's wearing these red robes as well. So,
I'll go over to him.
What do you say?
Sir, could you look at something for me?
Yes, a customer. What can how can I help you?
Could you look at something for me?
And he looks up and he like picks up his monocle really close to his eye and like looks at you and he's like, what would you like me to look at? Like you could tell that he doesn't get a lot of attention. Like he's very excited. Like he's almost shaking to like give him something new.
I'd slam my dick on the table.
Wrinkle dick again.
Now I sit the little pack, whatever you want to call it, that I've got.
Ziploc bag.
Down on the table and open it up and pull out the book and hand it to him.
Okay, so whenever you lay this book on the table, his eyes like light up. Like he gets so excited and he doesn't open it. He doesn't even touch it. He just he leans over in front of the book, like uncomfortably close to it with this like monocle that's on this little tiny stick. And he's like leaning over, like looking at this thing really closely.
Yes.
He looks up at you and says,
a moment, please.
And leans over and he just like goes back and forth and just very slowly looking over this and says, do you mind if I open this book?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to watch what happens whenever he opens it.
Okay. So he puts his hand on the side of the page and just flips it open and the book opens no problem. And there's no blood. There's nothing. So now you're standing right in front of him, right? So I'm assuming you'd be able to see exactly. Yeah. Make a perception check for me.
It's a crit fail.
All right.
Great.
So you're kind of leaning over and like you're watching what he's doing. And he lifts his head up and says,
could you give me some privacy, please? I need space to study the things that I'm studying.
Like, and you could tell this dude's crazy. Like he's probably worked here for a very long time, knows this place like the back of his hand, and he just doesn't want you all up in his grill. So
I take a step back.
I take a step back. So he kind of looks up at you as you step back, and he's like, "Thank you," and then kind of just leans over and just keeps reading. But at that distance, you're unable to really gauge exactly what he's looking at. So, but yeah, he was able to open this book and kind of freely look through it.
Okay.
So you just kind of stand there and wait a few minutes?
I'll wait till he's kind of finished doing what he's doing.
Okay. So he is flipping through various pages and inspecting things, and you're just kind of standing there. Probably at this point, you've probably stopped watching him. Like, you're probably just losing patience and bouncing back and forth, whatever. He eventually looks up and says, Sir, come back.
I take a step forward.
He says, This is very curious. Can I ask where you found this reed?
I found it on my journeys. I found it in the forest at the base of the mountain.
Curious. I don't really know what to tell you. It appears, upon first glance, when you look at the front of this book, it appears to have some type of connection to the cult of the demon prince, Orcus. But upon reading the pages, it's almost as if it's gibberish. It goes into discussing things like table sets and music and random acts of magic that have no association with anything. And it's nonsense. By all accounts, it appears to me what you've stumbled upon is a fake. And I've worked here my whole life. I've seen and know every type of magic, and barring anything crazy from some unknown deity, and this, I must say, is some type of fake book. There's nothing in here of value.
I reach down and grab the book off the table in front of him and close it and hold it out in front of me and open it, and I ask him, what about now?
So whenever you grab the book and open it, same thing happens as before. The blood starts to come from your fingers, and you're having kind of a hard time opening the book. And then it eventually opens up, and again, there's some blood on the sides of the pages where you had opened up, and you recognize it as being the same book as you had before, and the text is very similar to you. And whenever he sees this, and his eyes light up, and he leans over and kind of gets really close to the book again. And whenever he does this, the sides of his hair hit the book and they ignite in flame.
Whoops.
They catch on fire, and not just the tips of his hair catch on fire, his hair goes up in flames. And he just leans back. He's like, "Oh my God!" And he falls over on the ground and starts to spin around and is patting his head and throws his cloak over his head and just starts to pat it out. And a lot of his hair has been singed off and his head is kind of burned. And people rush in, and their other robes and some guards run in, and they say, What's happened? And then the guy, he's still relatively cognizant. He's like, the book, it's a magic book. And the guards and medics run in, and they grab him, because this is a very busy place, and they're dealing with a lot of types of magic, and these people are readily on hand dealing with this type of stuff. So this type of occurrence, although it might have surprised you or might have surprised some of the people, it's not, I wouldn't say it's common, but it's something they need to look out for. So whenever this happens, how do you react?
Well, originally I was going to try to see if there was something I could, if there was if he had a glass of water or wine or something on the table that I could throw on him. But since
like I said, passed, this is the way I kind of want to set this up. Is these rooms, especially the rooms dealing with magic, magic is unpredictable, and especially whenever you're dealing with new things that people don't understand. So the people and the medics and the doctor staff and the guards are there to make sure that if things do happen, as this is a town of learning, it's also a town of experimentation, and accidents do happen, especially in these types of places. So as we'd mentioned, the town is very adamant against making sure that people are not violent and things are contained. So it shouldn't seem that strange to Topher that they were ready and were able to take care of the situation quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd probably sit the book down on the table and obviously make my case that it was, tell them what happened.
No one is coming over and like suspecting you for anything, because what you're gauging is the fact that when this guy had came away, again, this is not, I wouldn't say this happens to him a lot, but it's not an uncommon occurrence, and he specifically had made mention that it was the book. So, like, people know you're in the magic place. The book is the source of magic, and this kind of thing can happen, especially when you're an idiot and put your face that close to something that could potentially be very dangerous. So no one is mad at you. No one seems to really say anything, honestly. However, after a few minutes pass, and then, like, the guards start to, like, come back out, there is another person. It's a female this time. And she walks out, and she goes, "Whatever you have here, it sure is feisty. Do you mind if I take a look? I promise I won't put my face too close to the page this time."
Sure. But the book's back on the table.
Right, but you're still standing there in front of it.
Yeah, but I want to see if the same thing happens to her hands as it does mine.
Okay.
And then if not, then I'll pick up the book.
So it's closed? You would close it again?
Well, no, I just laid it down on the table as it was.
Okay.
Like open, because everything had happened. I wasn't concerned about closing it. I just kind of like dropped it on the table.
So she grabs the book and lifts it up, and she doesn't like immediately put it down to her face. What she does do is she's holding it out, and she goes to like turn the page, and it's hot, and she like pulls her fingers back, and you can see, or you could even hear, being as close as you are, a tss whenever she touches the pages. Like, she is unable to touch this or move the pages without singeing her hand. And that happens, and she pulls it back, and she says, "That's interesting." Like, she's excited about it, because obviously everyone here is a fucking nerd. Mm-hmm. And then she goes to close the book. And whenever it closes, she notices on the side where there was this red marking for your blood was, it just disappears. And then she opens the book back up, and all of this is gone, and it's just full of these words and random inscriptions about nothingness. And she looks at you and says, Can I ask where you found this?"
I found it in the forest, a few hours from here.
So it wasn't given to you or gifted to you, or it wasn't presented to you in a way that made it yours?
I don't believe that I found it by chance. I believe that I was in some ways led to it, but the area around where I found it was dead.
That's intriguing. So, can I ask your name?
I don't really know what my name is. I know that might sound suspicious, but I was found by somebody, and I don't have any memory from before I awoke. I was found unconscious, and it's only been a day, and I was found in the Forbidden Forest, apparently. I awoke, and I don't know my name.
So she just kind of looks at you for a few minutes, and you could tell, like, not like pieces are falling into place, but she's having trouble piecing this together. Like, there's a look, that look of confusion, but also like puzzled. Like, she's got a look like she's trying to figure this out. And she says,
"Well, here's the thing. What you have here, not uncommon, yet of this magnitude, quite strange. It's called a blood bond. This book, as it appears, may be bound to someone else. Could be. However, it appears to be bound to you. And you are the only person that can open or close this book in its entirety when opened. And if anyone else attempts to put their hands on it after it's been opened by you, the book defends itself. Which is why it's uncommon for things of this to be gifted. It's usually made or created in a way that is bound to you. It is incredibly rare to have something bound to you, as it is a blood bond. And if you don't remember what happened to you, perhaps there's a good reason and you may not want to. Now, as far as your memory goes, I've never seen a blood bond like this
lead to the loss of memory, they usually are something that, very similarly to the magics of a warlock, tied to a particular god or a deity or some type of dark magic or evil bound and locked to a particular place. However, again, with no other information on the background or your history, I would have no additional information to offer. Just be careful with this. Be wary of who sees this. For especially if you do not know your past, you may be carrying around something of great evil that none of us have been able to identify. Telos has been a city of knowledge for hundreds and hundreds of years, even predating Baal's reign in its entirety. And lately, the number of people inquiring about that information has grown. And while this doesn't have any inherent connection to Baal that I can tell based on what I know of his history, and I'm not a major in that particular subject by any means, but these people are dangerous. However, Telos is open to all, and we cannot screen everyone that comes in for that type of information. Just be wary.
I will. Now, what about this wand? I pull my dick out.
Topher gonna get some love and some love. And so you lay the wand out on the table, and she kind of looks at it and puts her hands out and then looks up at you, like getting her approval to see if she can touch it.
I just wink at her. Yeah, she can pick it up. I just nod.
So she just picks it up. It seems like a pretty basic wand, and she gives it like a flick or two to see like if there's any like anything that's going to come out of it or if there's any particular weight to it, and nothing happens. So she kind of lays it down and says, "My friend, I'm sorry if there's anything special about the wand. I assure you, I won't be the one to find it. Wands are somewhat of my specialty, but it appears to be just a channeling magic wand, as many of them are."
Okay. Well, thank you for your help, and sorry about the now bald guy with the monocle.
If you ask me, he knew the risks, and he's crazy anyway.
Risks or Monopoly? Because now he looks like the Monopoly guy.
She just yells out, she's like, "Jenkins, get him a top hat right away."
So yeah, I thank her, and I just gather up my stuff and skedaddle.
Skedaddle?
Yeah, I don't think there's really,
she told you a lot about this book.
Yeah, and I don't want to have somebody really dive into what's going on inside the book, just in case it's like something really bad with me holding it. So I'm just going to leave it and go back out into the town. Or not leave it there, but just leave the issue, gather my things, and go out.
Okay. So you're on your way out of this building, and you leave through the same archways that you came in, and there's still tons of people walking in and out. And when you're walking down the stairs, you hear someone running, and you kind of look up, and there's a couple people that are just running up the stairs. And they're headed straight towards you, but they're not they don't look like they're aimed at you. They're just coming in your direction. So they're running at you, and there's 3 or 4 of them that are kind of staggered, and you're in their line of running. So what do you do? They're just full sprint up these stairs.
I guess I move to the side so they don't run me over.
Okay. Now they are moving very quickly, so make a dexterity check.
Also,
I would say dexterity
very, very quickly.
Dexterity saving throw, because they're right up on you.
18.
Okay. So this first guy passes you and turns to turn to the side, and he comes right at you and just right in front of you, and he barely misses you. And there's another guy that's coming right beside you, and make another dexterity saving throw.
Crit fail.
Oof. So when you turn and like dodge out of this way, there's, like I said, there's 4 people running up the stairs. You turn and like dodge out of this guy's way. Him and another one of his friends are getting ready to pass you, and you're kind of out of his way. And another one had you moved forward a little bit to dodge out of his way, and he kind of skinned you, and it hit your backpack that had all your stuff in it. And it kind of like turned, and you still had a hold of it. Nothing happened to it. But whenever you kind of gain your composure, this other guy just clobbers you, and you just hit the ground. And like your bag hits, and it doesn't like fly all over the place. It just kind of, all your belongings just kind of spill out onto the ground. And he gets up, and he's like, I'm so sorry. We're just in a hurry. Are you okay? And he's kind of like doing like the thing, like he's horrendously sorry. He's not trying to cause any problems. He asks if you're okay. What do you say?
You really need to watch where you're going.
And he's like, I'm so sorry. And he just turns around and gets up and just keeps running.
I want to make sure you didn't grab any of my shit.
Yeah, I mean, right away, it's all right in front of you. It's like, it's kind of spread out right in front of you, but you could tell right away he didn't take anything. Everything is still there. So
Okay, like
start
put
picking
everything up.
So in the process of you picking everything up here, whenever you pick these items up, you go and you grab for the book, and whenever you do, someone else's hand hits the book as well. And
I reach for my dagger.
Okay. So you reach for your dagger, but whenever you do this, you notice that this person's picking up the book, and he goes,
Are you all right?
Yeah.
and he's just helping you pick up the book. He wasn't trying to take it from you. He goes, Are you all right? And he's cloaked, very, very tall, and he has his hand on the book, and he's like letting it go. And whenever he does, you notice that there is a blood mark on the side of the book.
I take it back from him, and I get my stuff and stand up and say, "Yes, I'm all right."
Okay. Yeah, and you're wearing like this brown robe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And does it have a cloak or a hood on it or anything?
I don't know.
I think it did, because I remember it being like a wizard's robe, and it had like a hat and everything. So I would just imagine you're decked out in whatever you're wearing. It's cold in the mountains. You're probably pretty bundled up. Whenever you get hit and you spill this over, you're leaned over and you're picking this up, and he grabs the book, and then you notice right away, it's probably the first thing you notice, that there's this blood mark where his finger was. So the same thing is happening to him as what happened to you. And you have like your hood on, and you're picking your stuff up, and he does let go of the book and acquiesces it to you. But then you look up and you make eye contact with this person, and there is just a flood of just a stone wall face, and he jumps at you and like tackles you onto the ground, and his hands are like on your shoulders, and he is also wearing a hood. He is a very, very tall man, and he has a goatee. It's black, and he also has a hood over his face, and he holds up his hand over your face and goes to he starts to swing down, and he says,
You fooled me once, Velka. You will not fool me again.